The day I buried my son, my husband checked his phone during the eulogy. That was the moment I knew our marriage was as dead as the child we'd lost. I'm Taylor, and until 3 weeks ago, I thought I understood grief better than most. As a psychologist specializing in grief counseling, I'd guided countless patients through their darkest moments. But nothing prepared me for losing Tommy. Nothing prepared me for Joseph's reaction either. We should start thinking about clearing out his room, Joseph whispered as we stood by the tiny casket. The space could be useful. I stared at him, unable to process the words. Around us, mourners dabbed at their eyes with tissues, their black attire a stark contrast against the vibrant spring flowers adorning the cemetery. My sister Alina squeezed my hand, but I barely felt it. "What did you just say?" My voice cracked. Joseph glanced up from his phone. "I'm just being practical, Taylor. We need to move forward." Move forward. Our 8-year-old son had been dead for barely a week. The image of his empty bedroom, still littered with half-finished Lego projects and dog-eared books, flashed through my mind. "Taylor?" Regina, my colleague, approached cautiously. "Do you need a moment?" I nodded, grateful for the escape. Regina led me to a quiet corner of the cemetery, away from the sympathetic gazes and whispered condolences. "He's been like this since the accident," I confided, my hands shaking as I accepted the water bottle she offered. No tears, no breakdown, nothing. Just business as usual. Regina's face darkened. "That's not normal grieving behavior." "I know. I keep telling myself he's in shock, that everyone processes grief differently." I laughed bitterly. "I should know, right? It's what I tell my patients." "This is different," Regina said firmly. "The Joseph I knew 6 months ago would have been devastated. Remember how he reacted when Tommy broke his arm?" The memory hit me like a physical blow. Joseph had been frantic, barely leaving Tommy's side during the hospital stay. Where was that father now? "Something's changed," I admitted. "Or maybe I'm just seeing him clearly for the first time." A notification sound cut through our conversation. Joseph stood several feet away, engrossed in his phone. As I watched, he smiled slightly at whatever he was reading. "I should get back," I said, straightening my black dress. "People will want to say goodbye." The rest of the funeral passed in a blur. I accepted hugs, nodded at condolences, and somehow managed not to scream when Joseph announced he had to leave early for a business meeting. That evening, I sat alone in Tommy's room, surrounded by his belongings. His favorite stuffed dinosaur still sat on his pillow, waiting for bedtime stories that would never come. On his desk, a half-written letter to Santa listed Christmas wishes he'd never receive. My phone buzzed with a text from Joseph. "Meeting running late. Don't wait up." I started to type a response, then stopped. Instead, I opened my laptop and pulled up our shared calendar. Joseph's schedule showed nothing but blank spaces for the afternoon and evening. "Regina," I said when she answered my call, "remember when you said something had changed with Joseph?" "Yes?" "I need your help. Something's not right, and I'm going to find out what it is." "Taylor." Regina's voice was cautious. "Are you sure this is the right time? You're grieving." "I'm grieving my son," I cut in. "But I'm starting to wonder if I should be grieving my marriage too. Joseph's hiding something, and I need to know what it is." There was a long pause before Regina responded. "Okay, what do you need?" I looked at Tommy's dinosaur, remembering how Joseph used to make it dance to make our son laugh. When had those moments stopped? When had I stopped noticing they were gone? "Everything," I said firmly. "I need to know everything. Bank statements, phone records, email accounts, whatever you can help me access." "That's not exactly legal," Regina warned. "Neither is what I suspect he's doing." I picked up Tommy's dinosaur, hugging it close. My son deserved better than a father who checks his phone during his funeral, and I deserve to know why the man I married turned into a stranger. "I'll help," Regina said finally. "But Taylor, be prepared. Whatever we find might change everything." "Everything already changed the moment Tommy died," I replied. "Now I just need to understand why." After hanging up, I sat in the growing darkness of Tommy's room, clutching his dinosaur and making a silent promise. I would find out what Joseph was hiding. I would understand why he'd changed. And when I did, I would make sure he felt every ounce of pain he'd failed to show at our son's funeral. I just didn't know then how deep the betrayal went, or how much more I would lose before I found the truth. Regina's office felt like a war room, with papers spread across her desk and multiple screens displaying various documents. 2 weeks had passed since Tommy's funeral, and we'd been digging deeper into Joseph's life every day. Look at this. Regina pointed to a spreadsheet. These withdrawals happen like clockwork, the 15th of every month. $5,000, always in cash. I leaned closer, scanning the dates. For how long? 3 years at least. That's as far back as I could access. The numbers blurred before my eyes. 3 years of secret withdrawals. 3 years of lies. Where's the money going? That's the thing. Regina clicked through several windows. It's not going to any shared accounts, not to his business ventures, not to any investments I can trace. A knock at the door made us both jump. Connor, Joseph's business partner, stood in the doorway, his expression uncertain. "Taylor, I thought I saw you come in here." He glanced at the screens, which Regina quickly minimized. "How are you holding up?" "I'm managing," I said, forcing a smile. "Just catching up with Regina." Connor shifted uncomfortably. "Listen, I've been meaning to talk to you about Joseph." My heart rate picked up. "What about him?" "He's been different lately, distracted, missing important meetings or showing up unprepared." Connor ran a hand through his graying hair. I assumed it was grief, but this started before Tommy. "How long before?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. 6 months? Maybe more. He's been taking a lot of business trips to Portland, but half the time I can't reach him when he's there. Connor shook his head. "I probably shouldn't be telling you this." "No, please." I touched his arm. "I need to know." "Well, last month he missed a crucial investor meeting. Said he was in Portland, but when I called the hotel where he usually stays, they had no record of him." After Connor left, I turned to Regina. "Portland, that's only 3 hours away. Want me to look into property records there?" I nodded, already pulling out my phone to text my journalist friend, Gwendolyn. "I'm going to need another favor." That evening, I arrived home early, determined to search Joseph's home office before he returned. The room felt foreign now, like everything else in our life. His desk drawer was locked, but I found the key taped under his keyboard, an old habit he'd never broken. Inside, beneath a stack of papers, lay a small leather notebook. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside were dates, times, and brief notes. W's soccer game, 3 p.m. C. Dinner at Giovanni's. Remember, W's allergic to peanuts. Who were W and C? My phone buzzed. A text from Gwendolyn. "Found something. Coffee tomorrow?" The next morning, I met her at our usual cafe. She slid a manila envelope across the table. "Property records," she explained. "Joseph's name isn't on any of them, but I found something interesting. A house purchased 3 years ago by a shell company, one that traces back to his business holdings. The photos showed a modest 2-story home with a well-maintained garden. A child's bicycle lay on its side in the driveway." "There's more," Gwendolyn said quietly. "I drove by yesterday. A woman lives there with her son. The boy looks about 10. My coffee cup clattered against its saucer. "A son?" I took some pictures. She hesitated before showing me her phone. "Taylor, are you sure you want to see these?" The first photo showed a woman with auburn hair unloading groceries. The second made my blood run cold. Joseph, helping a young boy with what looked like soccer gear. "When was this taken?" "Yesterday afternoon." Yesterday. While I'd been searching his office, he'd been playing Happy Families in Portland. "The boy," I whispered. "What does he look like up close?" Gwendolyn swiped to another photo. The child had Joseph's eyes, his smile. He was wearing a soccer uniform with Edwards printed on the back. "His name is Wyatt," Gwendolyn said gently. "Wyatt Edwards. His mother is Clara Edwards." The cafe suddenly felt too small, too hot. 3 years of withdrawals, a secret house, a whole other family. "Taylor?" Gwendolyn reached across the table. "What are you going to do?" I stared at the photo of the boy, Wyatt, who shared my husband's features and someone else's last name. While my son lay cold in the ground, this child played soccer with the father who couldn't even cry at Tommy's funeral. "I'm going to destroy him," I said, my voice surprisingly calm. "Not just expose him, destroy him, and I know exactly where to start." I pulled out Joseph's notebook, the one filled with dates and initials that now made perfect sense. First, I need to meet Clara Edwards. She deserves to know she's not the only one who's been betrayed. Portland in autumn looked exactly like the life Joseph had built here. Picture perfect on the surface, rot underneath. I'd been sitting in my rental car outside the local elementary school for 20 minutes, watching parents collect their children. You don't have to do this today. Regina's voice crackled through my phone speaker. We could gather more information first. No, I said, watching another wave of kids pour out the front doors. I need to see them, to make it real. That's when I saw him, Wyatt. He bounded down the steps wearing a blue backpack covered in dinosaur patches, just like Tommy used to have. The sight knocked the wind out of me. Taylor, are you there? He's here, I whispered. God, Regina, he looks just like Joseph. A woman approached Wyatt, Clara. She was beautiful in an effortless way, wearing a casual sweater and jeans. She hugged her son, ruffled his hair, laughed at something he said. Everything about her screamed, normal mom, just like I used to be. I was so focused on them, I didn't notice the car pulling up beside mine until someone tapped on my window. My heart stopped. It was Wyatt. Hey, lady, are you okay? His concerned face peered in at me. You've been crying. I quickly wiped my cheeks, unaware tears had been falling. Clara approached behind him, maternal concern shifting to wariness as she assessed the stranger in the car. I'm fine, I managed, rolling down the window. Just having a rough day. Mom, she looks sad like Mrs. Peterson did when her dog died, Wyatt said to Clara. Clara's expression softened. I'm so sorry. Would you like us to call someone for you? The irony was almost laughable. Should I ask them to call my husband, their husband? No, thank you. I just lost my son recently, and seeing all these children. Oh my God. Clara's hand flew to her mouth. I'm so sorry. I can't imagine. Your son likes dinosaurs? I nodded toward Wyatt's backpack, desperate to change the subject. His face lit up. Yeah, Dad just got me this awesome T-Rex model kit. Do you want to see a picture? Dad, Joseph. The same man who couldn't be bothered to help Tommy with his dinosaur models those last few months. Wyatt, honey, we should let her have some space, Clara said gently. She handed me a tissue from her purse. I'm Clara, by the way. If you need anything. Taylor, I replied, watching her face carefully for any recognition. There was none. Thank you, both of you. You've been very kind. As they walked away, Wyatt turned back to wave. I waved back, my hand shaking. My phone buzzed. Regina again. Did you see them? I didn't just see them, I said, starting the car. I talked to them. Clara has no idea who I am. None at all. Taylor? I'm following them, I said, pulling out as Clara's car turned the corner. I need to see where they go. They led me to a small cafe, the kind of place that probably knew their regular orders by heart. Through the window, I watched Wyatt do homework while Clara graded papers. She must be a teacher. They looked so normal, so happy. My phone buzzed with a text from Joseph. Working late again, don't wait up. I checked the time, 3:45 p.m. Right on schedule, a familiar car pulled into the cafe parking lot. Joseph stepped out, straightening his tie before walking in. Through the window, I watched Wyatt jump up to hug him. Joseph lifted him off the ground, spinning him around like he used to do with Tommy. Clara stood to kiss him hello, and they looked like any other happy family enjoying their afternoon routine. My hands gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. 3 years. For 3 years, he'd been living this double life. While I worked late at my practice, while I took Tommy to his appointments alone, while I wondered why my husband seemed so distant. He was here, playing dad to another woman's son. My phone buzzed again. Gwendolyn this time. Got the financial records you asked for. It's worse than we thought. Want to meet? Yes, I replied, watching Joseph ruffle Wyatt's hair. But first, I need you to do something else. Find out everything you can about Clara. Where she teaches, her friends, her routine, everything. What are you planning? I started the car as Joseph settled into the cafe chair, pulling out what looked like Wyatt's homework. He's given them the perfect life while destroying mine. So I'm going to do the same to him. But first what? First, I'm going to tell Clara exactly who her perfect husband really is. And then we're going to make him pay. Both of us. As I drove away, I caught one last glimpse of them through the window. The picture-perfect family that existed because of my husband's perfect lies. By this time next week, that picture would be shattered, just like mine had been. The envelope felt heavy in my hands as I stood on Clara's front porch. Joseph was away at a business conference, actually at our home in Seattle, and I knew this was my chance. I rang the doorbell before I could lose my nerve. Clara opened the door, recognition flickering across her face. Taylor, from the school? Can we talk? I held up the envelope. It's about Joseph. Her smile faltered. Is everything okay? No, I said quietly. Nothing about this is okay. She led me into a living room that could have been pulled from a home decoration magazine. Family photos covered the walls, Joseph and Wyatt at the beach, Clara and Joseph's wedding photo, Wyatt's school pictures. A parallel life documented in perfect detail. Would you like some tea? Clara offered. I'd rather just show you these. I pulled out the photos, the bank statements, the marriage certificate, mine, not hers, laid them on her coffee table like cards in a terrible game. Clara's hands trembled as she picked up my wedding photo. I don't understand. Joseph is my husband, I said. Has been for 12 years. We had a son named Tommy. He died 3 weeks ago. The color drained from Clara's face. No, this is some kind of mistake. The mistake was his, I said, pointing to the bank statements. These withdrawals? $5,000 every month for 3 years. That's how he's been maintaining this life with you. Mom? Wyatt's voice came from the stairs. Who's here? Clara jumped up. Honey, go back upstairs, please. But Wyatt was already in the doorway, his eyes widening when he saw me. Hey, you're the sad lady from school. Wyatt, upstairs, now. Clara's voice shook with authority she didn't feel. After Wyatt reluctantly retreated, Clara collapsed onto the couch, staring at the evidence of her shattered life. 3 weeks ago, Joseph said he had to go to New York for business. He was at our son's funeral, I said, checking his phone during the eulogy. Clara pressed her hands to her mouth, tears streaming down her face. 10 years, she whispered. We've been married 10 years. Wyatt, oh God, Wyatt. I'm not here to hurt you or Wyatt, I said, my professional training kicking in despite everything. I'm here because you deserve to know the truth, and because I think we can help each other. Help each other? Clara laughed bitterly. How? By sharing custody of our mutual husband? By destroying him, I said simply. Professionally, financially, socially. I have a plan, but I need your help. Clara wiped her eyes, looking at the photos again. Your son. What happened? Leukemia, I said, my throat tightening. 8 months of treatment. Joseph was barely there. Now I know why. Wyatt's soccer games, Clara whispered. Every Saturday morning. He never missed one. But your son was having chemotherapy on Saturdays, I finished, while Joseph was here, playing devoted dad to Wyatt. Clara stood abruptly, walking to a desk in the corner. She pulled out a folder and returned, dropping it on top of my documents. Bank accounts, property deeds, business investments, all in my name. Joseph said it was for tax purposes. It was to hide money from me, I said, scanning the papers, and probably others. There's more, Clara said. Last week he asked me to sign some papers, transfer papers for Wyatt's college fund, nearly $500,000. Said he wanted to move it to a better investment account. My phone buzzed. A text from Connor. You were right. Found irregularities in company accounts. Big ones. Call me. I showed Clara the message. Joseph's not just been lying to us. He's been stealing from his company, too. What's your plan? Clara asked, her voice stronger now. First, we document everything. Then, when we have all the evidence, we go public, all at once. Media, police, SEC. He won't know what hit him. And Wyatt? Clara's eyes filled with tears again. How do I tell my son his father is a fraud? We'll figure it out together, I said, surprising myself with how much I meant it. Joseph doesn't get to destroy any more lives. Clara nodded slowly, then stood and walked to the stairs. Wyatt, can you come down, please? Clara, you don't have to. Yes, I do, she said firmly. He deserves to know he has someone else in his corner, someone who understands exactly what Joseph has done to him. Wyatt appeared, clutching his dinosaur model kit, the one Joseph had given him. The sight made my heart ache. Honey, Clara said gently, this is Taylor. She's going to be helping us with some changes that are coming. And I think she might know a thing or two about dinosaurs, too. Wyatt's face lit up, and in that moment I realized something unexpected. In trying to destroy Joseph's perfect lie of a life, I might have found something real to hold on to instead. "We've got him," Gwendolyn announced, spreading documents across my dining room table. Clara sat beside me, while Regina and Connor occupied the other chairs. 2 weeks had passed since I'd revealed the truth to Clara, and we'd been building our case methodically. "The money transfers were just the beginning," Connor said, pointing to a complex web of transactions. "He's been embezzling company funds through fake consultancy firms for years. At least $4 million. Clara's hand shook as she reached for her coffee. "And the college fund he wanted me to transfer would have disappeared into one of his offshore accounts," Regina confirmed, "along with everything else he's been siphoning away." "That's not all," Gwendolyn added, pulling out her laptop. "I found 2 other properties, one in Vancouver, one in San Diego, both purchased through shell companies." My stomach lurched. "More families?" "No," Gwendolyn shook her head. "Investment properties. He's been preparing his escape route." The doorbell rang, making us all jump. I checked the security camera feed on my phone. It was Wyatt. "Mom," he called through the door. "I forgot my house key again." Clara moved to get up, but I stopped her. "I'll get it. You keep going through the documents." When I opened the door, Wyatt bounded in, then froze at the sight of all the adults in the dining room. "Oh, is this about Dad?" The room fell silent. Clara and I had told him a simplified version of the truth, that his dad had done some bad things and there would be changes coming. He'd taken it better than expected, though I suspected he understood more than he let on. "Yeah, buddy," I said softly. "It is." Wyatt pulled something from his backpack, a USB drive. "Then maybe you should see this." "What is it?" Clara asked as Wyatt handed the drive to Gwendolyn. "Dad's always leaving his laptop at our house," Wyatt explained. "Last time he forgot to log out of his email. I copied some stuff." Gwendolyn plugged in the drive and we all crowded around her laptop. Emails filled the screen, hundreds of them, detailing money transfers, fake business deals, and conversations with offshore bankers. "Wyatt," Clara whispered, "how did you know to do this?" He shrugged, but I caught the hurt in his eyes. "Dad stopped coming to my soccer games 2 months ago. Said he was busy with work. But I saw him texting about beach houses instead." I pulled out a chair for him. "You're pretty smart, you know that." "Tommy was smart too, wasn't he?" Wyatt asked quietly. "Dad had a picture of him on his phone once. He said it was his friend's kid, but it wasn't, was it?" The room grew very still. I swallowed hard. "No, it wasn't." Wyatt nodded, then pulled out another surprise, a small notebook. "I found this in Dad's car last week. It's got lots of numbers and names in it." Connor practically lunged for the notebook. "This is his personal ledger. We've been looking for this for weeks." "Wyatt," Clara said firmly, "what you did was very brave, but I need you to promise me something. No more investigating on your own, okay? Let us handle this." "Okay," he agreed, then turned to me. "Can I show you my new dinosaur book while they do boring grown-up stuff?" I caught Clara's eye, received her nod of approval. I'd love that. As Wyatt and I settled on the couch with his book, I heard the others continuing their planning. "We need to move fast," Gwendolyn was saying. "Once we go public, he'll try to run." "The SEC is ready," Connor added. "They've been building their case quietly. We just needed proof of intent." "Which Wyatt just gave us," Regina finished. Clara joined us on the couch, putting an arm around her son. "You okay, honey?" Wyatt nodded, then asked the question I could tell had been bothering him. "Is Dad going to jail?" "Probably," Clara answered honestly. "He did some very bad things." "I know," Wyatt said, surprising us both. "He hurt Tommy by not being there, and he hurt you and Taylor too." I blinked back tears as Wyatt turned the page of his dinosaur book, pointing to a stegosaurus. "Tommy liked dinosaurs too?" "He loved them," I managed. "He had a whole collection." "Maybe," Wyatt hesitated. "Maybe I could see them sometime, to remember him by?" Before I could respond, Gwendolyn called out, "It's time. Everything's ready. We just need to make the calls." Clara squeezed Wyatt's shoulder. "Why don't you and Taylor finish the book upstairs? The grown-ups need to make some important phone calls." As we headed upstairs, I heard the first call being made, Gwendolyn to her editor. By tomorrow, Joseph's carefully constructed world would crumble completely. "Taylor?" Wyatt asked as we settled into the guest room. After Dad goes away, will you still visit us? I pulled him close, realizing that in seeking revenge, I'd found something I never expected, a chance to be part of a family again. Yes, I promised, as long as you and your mom want me around. The morning the story broke, I watched Joseph's world implode from my office. Every major news outlet picked up Gwendolyn's expose. Tech executives' double life, fraud, two families, and millions in stolen funds. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Regina burst in without knocking, her tablet displaying live coverage. They're arresting him right now. It's on every channel. I switched on the TV mounted in my office. There was Joseph, being led out of his company's building in handcuffs. His perfectly pressed suit was wrinkled, his carefully styled hair disheveled. Have you heard from Clara? Regina asked. She's keeping Wyatt home from school today. They're staying at her sister's place until this dies down. My office phone rang. Alina. Sis, are you watching this? Are you okay? I'm fine, I said, watching Joseph duck his head from the cameras. Better than fine, actually. Ms. Taylor? My receptionist's voice came through the intercom. There are reporters in the lobby asking for you. Don't let them up, Regina instructed, then turned to me. You should go home. This is going to get crazy. She was right. By the time I made it to my car, reporters were swarming the parking lot. Their questions followed me as I drove away. Did you know about his other family? What happened to the stolen money? How long have you been planning this expose? I drove straight to Clara's sister's house, where Clara was pacing the living room, phone in hand. The press found my classroom. The principal had to cancel my classes. How's Wyatt? Upstairs, playing video games, trying to pretend this isn't happening. Clara ran her hands through her hair. Joseph's lawyer called. He wants to talk. Don't, I warned. Not without your own lawyer present. Taylor, Wyatt's voice came from the stairs. You're on TV. We rushed to the living room, where a news anchor was showing my photo alongside Joseph's arrest footage. Sources say Joseph's first wife, Taylor, a prominent grief counselor, worked with his second wife, Clara, to expose his fraudulent activities. Clara muted the TV as her phone rang again. Joseph's number. Should I answer it? Put it on speaker, I said. Joseph's voice filled the room, desperate and angry. Clara, listen to me. This is all a misunderstanding. Taylor's twisted everything. Like you twisted the truth about having another family? Clara's voice was ice. About stealing millions? About missing your son's cancer treatments to attend my son's soccer games? I can explain everything. No, I cut in. You can't explain why you checked your phone during Tommy's eulogy. You can't explain why you wanted to clear out his room a week after he died. Taylor? His voice changed, becoming harder. You did this. You turned Clara against me. You ruined everything. You ruined everything, Wyatt said suddenly, moving closer to the phone. You lied to everyone. You hurt Tommy. You hurt both my moms. The line went silent for a moment. When Joseph spoke again, his voice shook. Wyatt, son, please. Don't call me son, Wyatt said firmly. Taylor's more of a parent than you ever were. At least she shows up when she says she will. Clara ended the call, pulling Wyatt into a hug as he finally let his tears fall. My phone buzzed. Connor. The SEC just froze all his accounts. The evidence is overwhelming. He's looking at 15 to 20 years, minimum. Another call came in. Gwendolyn. You need to see this. His business partners in Asia are coming forward. There are more shell companies, more fraud. This goes deeper than we thought. The news kept rolling in throughout the day. Joseph's empire crumbled hour by hour. Former employees spoke out about suspicious practices. Business partners distanced themselves. His reputation, built on lies, dissolved like smoke. That evening, as Clara prepared dinner and Wyatt taught me his favorite video game, my phone lit up with a text from Joseph. You've destroyed everything I built. I hope you're happy. I showed it to Clara, who read it and laughed bitterly. He still doesn't get it, does he? He destroyed everything himself. We just exposed the truth. Taylor? Wyatt asked, pausing our game. Are you staying for dinner? I looked at Clara, who smiled and nodded. Of course she is. She's family now. Family. The word hit me hard. In trying to tear down Joseph's perfect fake life, I'd somehow built something real, something honest. My phone buzzed one last time. Regina. Just saw the latest news. Joseph's facing additional charges for tax evasion. They're saying he might never get out of prison. Are you okay? I looked at Wyatt, showing me his game moves, and Clara humming as she cooked dinner. Then I thought of Tommy's empty room at home, still waiting to be cleared out, but not yet. Not until I was ready. I'm okay, I texted back. Better than okay. I'm healing. And for the first time since Tommy's death, it wasn't a lie. 6 months after Joseph's arrest, I stood in the courthouse corridor with Clara and Wyatt, waiting for the sentencing hearing to begin. Joseph had pleaded guilty to multiple charges of fraud, embezzlement, and money laundering in exchange for a reduced sentence. You don't have to do this, Clara said, straightening Wyatt's tie. Neither of you do. Yes, we do, Wyatt replied, sounding older than his 10 years. I want him to see us. Regina approached, holding a stack of papers. They're ready for us. Taylor, are you sure about making a victim impact statement? I nodded, clutching the folded pages in my hand. I'd rewritten my statement dozens of times, trying to capture the magnitude of Joseph's betrayal in words. The courtroom fell silent as we entered. Joseph sat at the defendant's table in an orange jumpsuit, a far cry from his designer suits. He turned as we walked in, his eyes widening at the sight of Wyatt. All rise, the bailiff called. The proceedings moved quickly. Prosecutors detailed the extent of Joseph's crimes. Over $12 million stolen, 2 families deceived, countless lives affected. His lawyer spoke of remorse, of mental health issues, of the pressure to maintain 2 perfect lives. Then it was my turn. Your Honor, I began, my voice steady. 6 months ago, I buried my 8-year-old son. While he was dying, his father was living another life, playing soccer dad to another little boy. Tommy spent his last Christmas in the hospital. Joseph told me he was at a business conference. He was actually decorating a Christmas tree with his other family. I looked directly at Joseph. But this isn't just about Tommy. This is about every lie, every moment stolen from both families. While Clara attended parent-teacher conferences alone, believing her husband was working late, he was having dinner with me. While I sat through chemotherapy appointments alone, he was cheering at Wyatt's soccer games. Joseph wouldn't meet my eyes. Good. The money he stole doesn't matter to me. What matters is the time he stole. Time Tommy could have had with his father. Time Clara could have spent building an honest life. Time Wyatt could have had with a dad who wasn't living a lie. Clara spoke next, her voice trembling but determined. For 10 years, I believed I had the perfect marriage. Now I know it was built on fraud. My son's college fund was stolen money. Our house was bought with embezzled funds. Every memory is tainted. Then, unexpectedly, Wyatt stood up. Your Honor, he asked, can I say something? The judge leaned forward, considering, then nodded. My dad missed my last 3 soccer games before he got arrested, Wyatt said clearly. I was sad about it, but now I know he missed them because he was supposed to be with Tommy, who was really sick. He chose not to be there for either of us. Joseph finally broke, calling out, Wyatt, please. Mr. McDonald, the judge warned, you'll have your chance to speak. When Joseph's turn came, he stood slowly. Your Honor, I never meant to hurt anyone. I loved both my families. I couldn't choose. I couldn't let go. So instead you let my son die alone, I interrupted, earning a sharp look from the judge. 25 years, the judge announced after deliberation, with no possibility of parole for 18 years. Additionally, all assets will be seized and redistributed to the victims. As the gavel fell, Joseph called out again, Taylor, Clara, please just let me explain. But we were already walking out, Wyatt between us, heading toward a future that didn't include Joseph's lies. Outside the courthouse, reporters waited with cameras and questions. But before we could navigate through them, Wyatt tugged on my sleeve. Can we go to Tommy's grave? He asked quietly. I made something for him in art class. Clara squeezed my hand. We can take my car. At the cemetery, Wyatt placed a carefully crafted clay dinosaur beside Tommy's headstone. I made it green because Taylor said that was his favorite color. It's perfect, I whispered, watching as Wyatt traced Tommy's name with his finger. Mom, he asked Clara, can we put up a swing set in our new backyard? Taylor said Tommy really liked swings. Clara smiled through her tears. Of course we can. And Taylor can help us build it, Wyatt continued. since she's going to be living next door and everything. The decision to buy the house next to Clara's had been impulsive, but right. The money from Joseph's seized assets had made it possible, a small justice in the grand scheme of things. My phone buzzed. Regina. Just heard from the prosecutors. They found 2 more offshore accounts. There's going to be another trial. But watching Wyatt arrange his dinosaur just so, while Clara took pictures and the autumn leaves fell around us, I realized I didn't care about more trials or hidden money. Tell them to handle it, I texted back. I'm done looking backward. Ready to go home? Clara asked, putting her arm around Wyatt. Home. Not to an empty house full of memories and lies, but to a street where Wyatt would ride his bike between our houses, where Clara and I would share coffee on weekend mornings, where healing could finally begin. Yeah, I said, taking one last look at Tommy's grave. We're ready. The moving truck pulled away from my Seattle house for the last time. Regina helped me pack the last box into my car while Alina carried Tommy's dinosaur collection, carefully wrapped in bubble paper. You're sure about this? Alina asked, not for the first time. A familiar SUV pulled into the driveway. Clara and Wyatt, right on schedule. Wyatt bounded out, wearing his dinosaur backpack. Is that all of them? Can I see? Let's wait until we get to the new house, I said, ruffling his hair. These guys need to be unpacked carefully. I still can't believe you're moving to Portland, Regina said, hugging me tight. Who's going to help me terrorize cheating husbands now? I heard that, Clara called out, laughing. And technically, she's moving to Lake Oswego, right next door to a very nosy neighbor who makes excellent coffee. The drive to Portland felt different this time. No surveillance, no secret missions, no burning rage. Just the open road and possibility ahead. Wyatt rode with me, chattering about his plans for Tommy's dinosaurs. We can make a special shelf in the game room, he explained. That way when I come over to play video games, it'll be like Tommy's playing too. My throat tightened. That's perfect. At the new house, Clara had already set up a welcome party. Regina and Alina helped unpack while Wyatt supervised the dinosaur placement with scientific precision. Mail came, Clara said, handing me an envelope. From the prison. Joseph's handwriting. I'd received several letters since the sentencing, all returned unopened. This one felt different. You should read it, Clara said softly. We both should. Inside was a single page. Taylor and Clara, I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I need you to know I'm getting help here. Real help. The psychiatrist says I have narcissistic personality disorder. It doesn't excuse what I did, but maybe it explains some of it. I think about Tommy every day. About how I failed him when he needed me most. About how I failed both of you and Wyatt. The therapist asked me to write down my biggest regret. It's not the fraud or the lies. It's missing Tommy's last Christmas for a fake business trip. It's checking my phone at his funeral because I was too scared to feel the pain. I've signed papers giving up all parental rights to Wyatt. Clara, you can proceed with the adoption process for Taylor. It's the least I can do for my son. Give him a parent who shows up, who puts him first, who knows how to love without lying. Don't write back. Just know I'm sorry. Know I'll spend every day in here trying to understand why I destroyed the best things in my life. Joseph. Clara wiped her eyes. The adoption papers came yesterday. Mom, Taylor, Wyatt called from upstairs. Come see, we finished the dinosaur shelf. We found him in the game room, standing proudly before a perfectly arranged display. Tommy's T-Rex held center position, surrounded by the rest of the collection. Below it, Wyatt had placed the clay dinosaur he'd made for Tommy's grave. See, he pointed. I left space for new ones, too. Because families grow, right? That's what you said, Mom. Clara pulled him close. That's right, honey. The doorbell rang. More visitors. Gwendolyn arrived with housewarming wine, followed by Connor with pizza. Soon the house was full of laughter and conversation. Speech, Regina called out, raising her glass. The hostess has to make a speech. I looked around the room. At Regina, who'd helped me uncover the truth. At Gwendolyn, who'd brought it to light. At Alina, who'd supported me through the darkness. At Clara, who'd turned from victim to sister. At Wyatt, who'd shown me love could grow even from lies. When Tommy died, I began, I thought that was the end of my story as a mother. Then I discovered Joseph's lies, and I thought revenge would write the next chapter. But standing here now, I gestured to the dinosaur shelf, where Tommy's collection watched over us all. This isn't about revenge anymore. It's about healing, about building something true from something false, about choosing family instead of fury. To family, Wyatt shouted, raising his soda can. To family, everyone echoed. Later, after the guests left and Wyatt fell asleep playing video games, Claire and I sat on the back porch of our adjacent houses, sharing the last of Gwendolyn's wine. What do we do with his letter? Clara asked. I thought about Joseph in his cell, finally facing his demons. About Tommy, who'd loved dinosaurs and never got to share them with his brother. About Wyatt, who'd turned loss into love with a child's simple wisdom. We let it go, I said. We've got better stories to write now. Inside, Wyatt stirred. Mom, Taylor, can we have pancakes tomorrow? Clara smiled. With dinosaur shapes? Obviously, he called back. I looked at the two houses, connected by more than just proximity. At the dinosaur shelf visible through the game room window. At the future we were building, one pancake breakfast at a time. Obviously, I echoed, and felt Tommy's memory smile,